I was reading this headline that says that Udonis Haslem mulls whether or not he will return for his 20th season with the Miami Heat. Here's a quote I'm going to read from him on this. He said, "For me, it's just a lot going on. I have a lot of things that I had to really think about. 20 years is a conversation I had with my father." It also says here in this excerpt, Haslem's father, Johnny Haslem, died last August at the age of 70. Haslem, quote unquote, says things change. He's not here no more. Goals change. And another quote he's saying right here, it's still something that I battle with because it's something that we talked about and it's something we wanted to do in a specific way. Things changed when he passed, but we'll figure it out. So he's kind of being ambiguous about whether or not he's going to come back. But if I'm betting, he will probably return because, hey, it's free money for doing nothing. But before I give my opinion how I feel about this, I just want to do a little background on Haslem. Haslem actually, during his first several years in the league, was a very solid player. He had many years where he nearly averaged a double-double. He would average something like 10 points, 9 rebounds, or it would be something like 9 points, 10 rebounds. But he was always very close to averaging a double-double, which makes you a very solid player in this league. So for a period of time, he was very solid. He was a good defensive player. Also, there's something I would like to mention that's probably related to why Haslem is still in the Heat for this long, even though he's been pretty much washed up for the last several years, which is that way back in 2010, summer 2010, when the Big Three formed, Haslem actually took a pay cut to still be part of the team. He turned down an offer from the Mavericks, which would have paid him a lot more than what Miami was able to give him at the time. But Pat Riley promised him that he would pay him basically on the back end of his career, just that he would continue to give him paychecks. And I think that this is why Haslem has been in the league for this long, even though he hasn't been a legit NBA player in 7 years. I just looked at Basketball Reference. I would say the 2014-2015 season was the last time you could say he was a legit NBA player. He was no longer a starter at that time. He was more of a good backup, but he was a good bench player around that time period. After that season, he just fell off of a cliff. And one thing I find even more interesting is that in the last 7 years, Haslem has played a total of 95 games. Keep in mind, an NBA season is 82 games, so Haslem has just played a little more than one NBA season in the last 7 years. So basically at this point in time, Haslem is nothing but a mascot. Just that's who he is. He's just a mascot that the Miami Heat pull out for these games, and he's recognizable by the fans because he's been there for so long, but he's not a legit player, just not a legit player at all. But that's the purpose he serves. The only other purpose he serves is that whenever the Heat want to serve up a dirty play, Haslem will be their guy just to pull something dirty whenever they need it, like the time when he got into it with Dwight Howard, which I'll say in that one moment, I didn't blame Haslem because Dwight started the mess. It was pretty funny. That happened, I believe, last year in 2021. It was hysterical, but that was pretty much the highlight of Haslem's last several years in the league. That was probably his only highlight play. I think this year he played like 13 games, while last year he only played one game. And I believe last year he wasn't injured. He just didn't play. He sat out because he was pretty much useless. But I have to say Haslem is on what I call the Miami Heat retirement plan. That it had to be one of the best retirement plans in the league. I just feel that Pat Riley has a wink-wink deal with Haslem that he can play for as long as he wants to. He can stay on the team's roster and just collect those checks. If Haslem wanted to go all the way to age 50, I believe Riley would have no problems doing that. In some ways, I had to give Riley some respect. He was a man of his word. He did give back Haslem the money that he lost for signing him for the cheap. So I'll respect Riley. He honored his word. Very few people do in business. So that is respect worthy, but it's still laughable how Haslem is still playing. I'm pretty sure he's recovered all the money he lost by taking a smaller deal with Miami versus going with a Dallas deal way back in 2010, but he's still going to play this out. Do I blame him? Nah, it's free money. You get to sit there, do nothing. You get to travel, and who wouldn't turn down just $1 million every year for doing nothing? That's an awesome deal, but I I wonder how long this is going to go on. Really, I just wonder how long Haslam is going to do this. Just how long they can do this without people just wondering what's going on. Like, it's kind of been like a secret for the last 7 years. No one's really looked into why he's still playing despite being a useless player. There are a bunch of G League players at this point in time that would be better than him. Just and I'm not even a hater. I just think that's an honest assessment. He's terrible. I know some people will say, well, he brings veteran leadership to the locker room, but I have to say, when you're not productive, that veteran leadership doesn't really mean much, especially at this point in time. The Miami Heat team, their current roster has enough experience already going on these deep runs in the playoffs. There's nothing he can really add at this moment anymore. I think his role has already been served, as they would say. Just there's nothing much more for him to add. It'll be interesting to see how long this gimmick plays out with Miami Heat and him. So we'll see. That's all I have to say about this subject.